Hello, hello! Welcome back to Byaheng Big Sky, where we go beyond borders to talk about all things travel. This is brought to you by Big Sky, your #1 travel connectivity provider in the Philippines. I'm Andrea, your resident Big Sky traveler, and let's get this pod started. Last episode, alam ko na-inspire kayo guys to start or continue traveling, and ang dami nating natutunan, especially for us women who love to travel, as a group, barkada. Kaya naman I'm super excited also to talk more with women travelers in this episode. Okay? And today's episode, we're gonna talk about all those quirky, unexpected, and funny things that we all do before, during, and after a trip. So from travel superstitions and packing habits to budget-friendly hacks, and as well as travel mishaps, we're sharing it all to you, Big Sky fam, and for sure makaka-relate kayo dito. And today we have very special guests. Like I said, women travelers who are also friends. So we have here Moochie and Rina.
Hello, my name is Rina. I'm a seasoned tech professional and business leader. I also have a project management background. That's how I actually met Moochie. And yes, I also love to travel. And I've traveled a lot on different kinds of travel experiences.
Today, magiging very fruitful ang ating magiging discussion because we're gonna talk about a lot of travel tips, hacks. Ito na yung mga iniintay nyo, Big Sky fam. So let's dive right into it. I'd like to ask you guys, like, ano yung mga pre-travel rituals nyo? Like, things that you have to really do, like non-negotiables nyo before you even start planning or traveling.
My travel list is actually more for like packing. So I have a constant list of things to pack so that whenever I travel, wherever that may be, whatever time it may be, if it's rushed or not, I have an automatic list of things. And it's a comprehensive list usually for long-haul travel so that you can just check off whatever is not needed. Diba? And it makes packing a lot easier. Doesn't matter if I pack last minute or not, just helps me make sure that I don't miss anything.
Yeah, pretty much the same.
Yeah.
Actually, kanina, when we were talking, we realized that we had both a default checklist
Yeah.
to make sure that every single trip, okay, I don't have to think about it. I
Yeah.
just have this list and I just remove and add whatever's needed.
Yeah.
But it already kind of considers what needs to be done prior the trip
Yeah.
and then after the trip. So that checklist is usually like, mayroon na yan, copy-paste na lang yan sa notes ko na pre-trip, I have to do online check-in, I have to do this, and I have to pack for the itinerary. So if I'm traveling for leisure, then I just pack some stuff for leisure. But if I travel for work, it's also there so that I don't overpack.
I think probably one of the most important is that you understand what the purpose of the travel will be. So even before you go on your trip or at the start before you plan your trip, if you're planning it ahead, you have to understand, what is my goal for this trip? Is it a work trip? Is it a leisure trip? Am I here to relax? Am I here to enjoy with my friends? So those things will determine all the other decisions that go around the trip, no? Including what things to bring, what things you need to have. Because admittedly, sometimes there are people who, like myself, I'm not a light packer. I will admit that I am not a light packer. I like to pack for plan B. Everything with the contingency. But if you think about it, you don't really need to pack for everything in this day and age, no?
Mm-mm.
Everything is accessible, especially if you're just in a city. So anything that you're not sure you need, but you might need, you can actually just buy when you
Yeah.
get there. So you probably don't need to string it along with you. So determining what the purpose of that trip would really help you in terms of what to bring, who do you want to go on the trip with, and because of who you are with in the trip, what other things you might need also.
Yeah, like medicine
Yeah.
stuff. So I already have, like, apart from the checklist, I have a pre-packed set of items that I need for every single trip, like toiletries and all of that, and clothes that are pre-packed already, so I don't have to think about it.
Correct,
Yeah.
correct. And connectivity is also something that's so important, no? So we
Yep.
make sure we have things like adapters, which is so important
May
depending
ibang-
when you go.
Yes, true.
Oh, kasi that's one of the usual things that people forget to bring. And not all hotels provide in case you forget. Ngayon, more and more you can buy it na naman from stores. Internet connection, of course, is important. It's very, very important in this day and age. I don't
Especially
know.
because we're working.
Yes, yes. And
Yeah.
I honestly don't know anyone who still travels with no internet connectivity. In fact, in the US, they did a study about this, and 80% of Americans deem na it's a necessity already to travel, diba, with an internet device with you. I think more than just whether it's work, personal, or whatever, no, it's also a necessity in terms of safety. So you make sure that when you get lost, especially if you're in a country that's not English speaking,
Yeah, super.
diba? You need internet for everything. For your Google Translate, for your maps to navigate, diba? So if you need help in terms of emergency, it's also equally important.
Especially if you don't have a tour agent or a tour
to contact.
operator during the trip.
Yeah,
If
in
it's a
case there's
DIY
problem.
trip,
Correct,
like
correct.
just you and your partner, there's nothing else,
Yeah.
you really got to be connected.
So let's talk more about your pre-flight must-dos. Are you the type to arrive super early or just in time for your flight? Kasi laging ang advice like 3 hours, 4 hours.
I'm super early. I'm like always super early. Especially locally, you can't predict the volume of people who are in the airport, and you don't know what's going to happen or what can happen in the airport.
Yeah, correct. I'm the same. Sometimes nga things are unpredictable, diba? May mga changes that will happen last minute and it's difficult to cope if you're late. So it's actually better that you're there early. And you can deal with everything and just relax while you're waiting for your,
Very true.
boarding time.
Peace of mind.
Yes,
also.
yes.
You'll never know what
Yeah.
could
Yeah,
happen.
especially
Yeah.
because sa akin, I'm usually an early
Mm.
person in the airport, but I just tried to follow one time like poor advice that just be 1 hour earlier, whatever. And I ended up regretting it. Oh my gosh. There were like unplanned things at the airport, at the X-ray. May mabagal sa harapan mo sa X-ray.
oo.
Oh my gosh, there was like this group of people who paulit-ulit yung X-ray, pinabalik, X-ray, pinabalik. And that was like, ang dami kasing belt. Parang yung jacket nila na madaming metal, madaming belt. Tapos may
Band na ba to?
spray pa sa bag. Yung
Yeah.
parang aerosol spray. And it was like already creating a line. So ako parang sabi ko, okay, never again. It's too much stress for me to handle. And it was really poor advice that I listened to. Because, di ba yung mga guys, parang, 1
Go
or 2 hours,
lang.
okay lang.
Yeah.
Mabilis lang yan. Pero like, ayoko. I don't
Yeah.
like that anxiety anymore. So ako, generally, just go early to the airport. Even if it's a nice airport. Parang it's nice to chill na lang there. At
True.
least I get to do a little work, do a little email na din at the airport before I go for my flight. At least less anxiety-driven yung experience.
Natawag yung name mo nun.
So far, hindi naman natawag. So, thank you, Lord.
Ito, since you mentioned na like it's nice to chill at the airport, do you have a go-to food stop? Is there a place that you wish every airport had? Or ano yung ritual nyo saan kayo nag-hang out while waiting?
Ako, I would highly recommend to get access to the lounge. Before, it was a luxury to be able to access the lounge, but now actually it's not. It's very accessible for everyone. If you have like certain credit cards, provide you free lounge accesses, no? And not just you, but sometimes you can even bring a companion with you. The reason being, when you're in the lounge, it's not just the food or the drinks that are free, but also it gives you better access to restrooms. You have quiet spots if you need to take a meeting.
Yeah.
Diba? So it's just better than trying to find the spot in restaurants or in cafes where it's noisy, people are, over.
No, may funny story
Yeah.
ako sa lounge. Because the first time ever na nag-lounge kami, I was traveling with my friend. And my friend had his credit card.
Yeah.
Sabi niya, sige, lounge. Tapos may +1, kasali ako. So sabi ko, okay, sige, saya sa lounge. So may free food, may drinks. And we were so tired. We were, I think, in Cambodia. So imagine, Cambodia during May, 50 degrees Celsius. It was so hot. I was so tired. So, alam mo yun, we came from a tour. Sobrang jam-packed no itinerary. Tapos, when we went to the airport, I was so tired. And then my friend had lounge access. So heaven siya for me because we were like resting in an armchair, kanya-kanya kami Sobrang funny lang because I got to relax. We both fell asleep. Like, tululaway, tulog.
Like heaven talaga yung lounge
Heaven,
access.
tulog.
Yeah.
And we didn't realize how deep our sleep was na tinatawag na pala yung flight. So, buti na lang nagising. Biglang ginising ako ng kaibigan ko na sabi niya, Mooch, 5 minutes na lang flight na. Our boarding gate was like, malayo pa, kabilang dulo. Di ba nakakainis pag yung lounge, kabilang dulo sa airport? So, we were like, alam mo yung parang deep na tulog. Tapos bigla kang gigising.
Yeah.
Tapos biglang kailangan mo tumakbo with your hand
Panic ka na
carry.
bigla.
Panic ka na bigla. Oh my gosh. Sobrang funny kasi biglang takbo kami. Nagbo-boarding na kami. We were one of the last to board. Buti hindi natawag
Tawag ulit.
yung name.
Parang
At hindi na iwan.
Saved by the Bell.
Pero yung itsura namin, habang nakapila was like, huh?
Sabog na sabog.
Sabog pero may adrenaline. Kaya yes, I highly recommend the lounge.
Yeah.
Mag-set kayo ng alarm.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
true.
Oo.
But it also varies. Usually, if your waiting time is very short, and kunyari your lounge is at the opposite end of your boarding gate, then of course, don't, diba? Of course, just choose something that's more practical.
Yeah.
Pero if-
Isipin nyo yung
Oo.
distance.
Oo.
Sa gate also.
Yes. So,
Kasi medyo may onting ano doon.
Oo.
At saka kung mararamdaman nyo na makakatulog kayo, lalo na, especially if you're traveling alone.
Yeah.
If you're traveling with a friend, at least you have somebody there to
Yeah.
remind you na, hey, wake up.
Yes.
But if you're traveling alone and you fall asleep, nobody's gonna wake you
Yeah.
up. But you should be aware.
Although the good thing kasi if you're in the lounge, they will announce
Yeah.
if it's your boarding
True.
time for which flight. Kaya lang if you're like mantika matulog, then you know,
Wala na.
Yeah.
no one can help you. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they announced ours, but mantika, tululaway level na yung tulog na yun eh. So I was like,
Hindi na lang
wala
talaga
na.
nagising.
Hindi na
Wala
talaga.
na.
wala
Ano
na.
doon.
Oo.
Yeah. But
Wala
there
na
are
ano.
lounge na they get your flight
Those are
number.
good. Oo, okay.
yeah, they do.
And they sila talaga
Ah, ah.
magtatawag
Yes.
sa'yo.
Or
Oo.
bilin mo na lang. Sabi mo, I'm traveling alone. So if I,
Yeah.
find me and
Please. Yeah.
So if
Meron
you
ba kayong
do-
favorite lounge to recommend?
Ako, I don't have one to recommend. There are obviously ones that are better than others, no? Pero any lounge for me is okay as long as I can do my business. So
Yeah.
whatever that may be, if I need a meeting, I
Yeah.
need to work, as long as I can be at peace and do my stuff, you know, I'm good.
Like yung
Ako,
food
wala
kasi
naman.
baka factor siya kung saan.
I'd only do the lounge pag libre. Hashtag kuripot.
Pag libre.
Pag plus
Oo,
one.
pag
Yeah,
libre.
yeah.
So, pag hindi siya libre, I won't pay for it. And if maganda yung airport, like Singapore Airport,
Yeah.
di ba? Ang ganda na ng Singapore Airport. Singapore Airport is like, parang lounge na yung buong airport, di ba?
Yeah.
So, Japan
So
Airport,
it's okay even.
Oh,
for
it's
Yeah.
those.
okay.
Oo,
Kahit wag
yeah.
na.
and
Yeah,
even
fine.
Japan airports, because even Japan airports, I actually find it more chill to just stay at the gate, near the gate, than to be far pa in the lounge. So,
That's true.
sometimes I enjoy, especially if it's a really nice 5-star experience type of airport, I'd rather wait near the gate. Para pag nakatulog ako, I bet somebody's going to wake me up there. Yun talaga yung problema ko, no? Pag nakatulog ako.
Yun yung factor talaga.
Oo.
Yung magising ka naman with the commotion. Because
Yeah.
people will be queuing to board. Ganyan,
Yes,
diba? So
oo.
magising ka rin.
And especially pag may fellow Filipino ka doon na parang, uy, si ate yata parang sarap ng tulog ah. Gisingin ko kaya, ate, flight niyo ba to?
Nice.
Yeah.
So aside from like mga airport reminders, let's talk more about how do you prepare for a trip? Are there any non-negotiable things that you always do before your trip?
Like really good sleep. Sorry, tulog talaga, no? This should be the sleep
Pero it's a
podcast.
necessity ah. Iba kasi yung pagdating
is.
mo sa country,
Yeah.
parang masasayang yung entire day mo if you
If you're
kind of
too
mess up the
tired,
body
yeah.
clock.
A lesson for me, traveling in my early 20s versus my late 30s is really get good rest before the trip so that I don't get sick during the
Yeah.
trip. So that's why sleep is like non-negotiable sa akin. It's like I need a full 12 hours of sleep before a flight. And then sa flight matutulog uli ako. So sleep is life.
Try to adjust your sleep also, especially if you're changing time zones, so that the jet lag won't hit you as bad.
True.
You know, if it's possible, syempre we all have different life situations, but if it's possible. And for me also, maybe one good thing is to be honest with yourself also on what you can or cannot. So for example, if you're not a morning person, then if you are able to, don't book the early flight because you will stress yourself out, diba? So you have to remember that if you're going on a trip, what is your intent? If my intent is a vacation and I want to relax, then make sure that the things that you do will help you relax, not stress you out more.
Yep.
So for example, each of us will have different preferences then. If your preference is comfort, you want a nice bed to sleep in at the end of the day. You cannot stand dirty rooms, for example. We all have different standards. Whatever that standard may be, if your intent is to relax, and make sure that you don't compromise on that. Because what is the point of going on a holiday if you will just stress yourself
Don't
out?
plan
diba?
for your own
Then
misery.
Don't just,
Yeah.
exactly,
Oo.
diba?
Ano yung mga common pre-travel mistakes that you think people make but often overlooked then?
I have one which is not reading the fine print enough. So when you book your ticket, or for example, when you apply for visas when traveling, you have to read the fine print. No, we have a lot of people who assume things. Kunyari, they assume, oh, I have a US visa, therefore I can enter this country visa free. Then pagdating na dun, rejected because kulang pala. They still have to present certain documents even though they have US visa. So things like that, no? So make sure that you read the fine print and make sure that you have everything ready.
If multi-country yung trip, I try to call the embassy. Kasi,
Just to be sure,
just to be
diba?
sure.
Correct.
Para
Kasi
sigurado.
sometimes the instructions are not that clear. And same with when you're booking flights. What is included in the rate of that flight that you're booking for? I've seen people, for example, in the lounge complaining na, I booked a business class flight. How come I don't have lounge access? But they didn't read the fine print. Even though they booked a business class flight, they booked a cheaper one.
Yeah.
So therefore, the lounge access is not included, diba? But they don't know that because they didn't read properly.
Always read the fine print.
Yeah.
True. Some of the headaches nasa save siya if you just really take the time.
You have to. Kasi iba-ibang country, iba-ibang airlines, iba-ibang rules, iba-ibang types of products sila.
And iba-ibang promos will have different fine print.
Para akala mo dati paminsan like business class yung ticket mo pero it's
Ang
the
cheap.
cheapest business class pa lang so may mga tinanggal silang benefits. May mga ganun eh.
Another pre-travel mistake na medyo widely known is like about the baggage.
Yes.
Yeah. What are your takes on
We
this?
always bring a weighing scale. Ano lang yan, it's a simple question. When do you want to worry about it? In the airport or before the airport? I wanna know my luggage weight before I go to the airport. So, hindi siya movie scene na nagtatanggal ka ng, diba?
Sasot ka ng mga jackets.
Exactly.
Like that. Nagpapatong ka.
Maawa ka talaga kasi punong-puno yung bag.
Yes.
And then they have to figure out how to get rid of those
Just
stuff.
weigh it. Just i-weigh mo na bago ka pumunta doon. Kasi either way, the check-in counter people, they're just following the rules. There are rules for safety reasons. So, diba? Might as well just weigh it before.
Parang right now, they're very handy. Small digital weighing scale, weighing devices that you can bring. So that's very helpful to pack. Ako, I usually have one with me just to be sure. And then when you pack before the trip, know how heavy your luggage is para you know how much allowance you have, diba? So when you shop, you're conscious about, I only have kunyari 5 kilos
and your hand
space or diba? Or your hand carry, And then again, read the fine print because if your flight doesn't include luggage. Or limits your hand carry because there are budget flights right now who limit your hand carry to a certain size only. You cannot argue, this is a hand carry, but that's not what's stipulated. What's stipulated pala is the bag has to fit under the chair. If it doesn't fit under the chair, you cannot bring it with you.
Ayoko mangyari na dun ako sa check-in counter magpapanik. Ayoko mangyari na yung hand carry ko i-intercept for check-in. So prior to that, I already try to parang weigh it para when I get there, chill na lang, di ba? Wala nang worry or wala nang problems.
Pero how about yung mga pang-pasalubong mo, mga souvenirs nyo? How do you plan that?
Yeah.
Like, do you have extra baggage just for that?
I have a foldable bag.
Same.
I have a foldable bag from Don Quixote. It's a lightweight foldable bag. Sobrang sulit niya. I highly recommend that bag because then I can travel with just one large luggage. If ever may napasarap yung shopping sa supermarket or whatever na pampasalubong, I just put my clothes in that duffel bag. And then all the pasalubong are in my check-in luggage.
Good hack.
I normally also bring with me a container. So can be like a lock and lock type of container. A bigger one. Why? Because if I happen to buy something that's fragile, I can put it in there so that it doesn't get messed up in my luggage. When diba kahit hindi throw your luggage out because it's compact, it's there, and you can just stuff towel, clothes, whatever, so that doesn't move. You can put your chichirya there. You can put any glass containers there. If you have souvenirs, not even food, souvenirs, diba? Kunyari, if you're a collector, say
Fragile.
you collect mugs or like snow globes or whatever it is, diba? You can put it there.
Be safe.
Yeah, so essentially you have a container to pack fragile stuff in, diba?
True.
And when you bring it, it's empty, so it's nothing. If you don't have to use it or put anything in it anyway, it's fine. You can just bring it home, diba?
Yeah.
Ang smart. Kasi for some, like ngayon nagiging trend yung doon na bibili lagi ng extra luggage. For
Ay,
the,
mahal yun.
Parang ngayon nagiging collector ka na rin ng luggage.
Exactly.
Yeah, so yun yung mga hacks na pwede ka na palang magdala ng foldable or like even containers. Siguro naisip yun.
I highly recommend the foldable bag and the containers, especially if like, know your purpose. Parang when you get there, do you imagine buying something fragile or do you imagine
you probably
buying
don't plan for it,
chichirya? If it's chichirya, walang problema eh. Pero if it's like fragile
lang.
stuff, yun yung problem.
Since we're talking a lot about pre-travel hacks, as a corporate professional, syempre another thing that we need to secure is getting our leaves approved. Ano yung mga masashare nyong tips about that?
Grabe yung kwentuhan, no? Pero ito na talaga yung pinaka-importante travel hack. Bago ka pa bumiyahe, don't forget to book our Big Sky Travel Wi-Fi. Sobrang dali lang yan. Just message us at Big Sky Nation on Instagram and Facebook and we'll help you choose from travel Wi-Fis or SIM cards customized for your trip. At kung nasa NAIA Terminal 1 or 3 ka na ngayon, you can pick it up at our Big Sky booth. Now, balik tayo sa chikahan!
I think people are traveling more now than ever before, no?
Yeah.
Pero ako, generally speaking, especially when I was in corporate, I'd make sure na, because I like traveling I made sure that if I was going to go on leave, that my boss knew about it months in advance so that my boss can plan for it. Parang tao din naman yung boss natin, di ba? Parang iniisip ko lang na, okay, if I was the boss, ano ba yung gusto ko maramdaman pag magli-leave siya? So, may certain amount of reassurance na, okay, hey boss, I'll be out for like 5 days and may checklist na ako dyan to make sure that every single part of my work is ayos before I leave. And then I always make sure na reachable ako. Even in my checklist, kasali na dyan yung Wi-Fi and connectivity because even though I'm not supposed to work during vacation, if ever may emergency lang, I wanna make sure na I make my boss feel na, hey, you can contact me. So far, lahat ng boss ko naman, even in the past, has always respected that boundary na hindi ka naman nila gusto talaga guluhin pag naka-vacation leave ka, diba? But if ever may emergency na ikaw lang yung nakakaalam, I make sure na reachable ako, which I feel that kaya na-approve lahat ng leaves ko kasi I always try to do that. Just be courteous to your boss. So, ako, ang pre-trip ko dyan is I try to inform them. As soon as I have my ticket or I have my plans, I inform them na. And even prior to my actual leave, I make them feel na may checklist na. Kumaga, all the tasks that are with me are either handed over to somebody else or ayos siya before I leave. So, ano lang siya, a little bit of consideration for, syempre, the person who's going to approve my leaves. Yeah.
And also the person who will help cover for you.
Yes.
Diba? Because they might not know everything. They might need at some point to be able to reach you to ask questions and things like that. I don't know if this is just me, pero I find that increasingly as roles change and as the landscape of work changes, more and more that even though while you're on leave, you need to be contactable. Work is still somehow part of your day-to-day.
Yeah.
So it's not like before na I'm on leave, therefore I just shut everything off. Parang you're so lucky if you can do that.
I don't think people want to. Kasi ako din, parang ako, I don't wanna come back with fires.
Yeah.
In the office. I'd rather know if there's an issue during that time than when I get home, biglang the house is burning na pala. So, it's important.
And because they can contact you, they have no one to ask, they don't know what to do.
Yeah.
That's harder.
Parang to me, it's more anxiety. Ang dami na palang problema sa office, tapos biglang hindi ko alam.
Yeah.
So, I'd rather know it and okay sila today. It's green. Okay, good. Sige.
You're also at peace while
I'm
you're
at peace.
while you're on vacation.
I just feel na yung responsibilities ko are okay while I'm out. So that's like key.
I'm curious, paano nyo siya pinagsasabay while you're traveling? When you're planning your itinerary, do you include it?
Yeah.
Will there be like blocking a day just to catch up for work?
Normally, for me, if I know I will be working on this trip and I have a perceived amount of work that I will be doing, no? So whether it's just I have critical calls to take or I really need to sit down and do some work, then I will make sure to align my itinerary to that. So if I have more things to do, then I have to travel slow. And that means I have to insert more time in between, diba? And then I have to schedule activities. Because when you're traveling, sometimes the places that you want to go to, they close early. But you also have meetings in the afternoon. So how do you find the balance between that, right? So it's all about planning properly, planning early, and arranging that. And make sure that your time is used wisely.
Ako super simple ko lang dahil gusto ko, actually I love working when I'm abroad. Kasi parang, di ba, coffee shop, laptop, coffee, tapos you get the whole day. Sarap. Ako naman opposites, like, I have to schedule when I'm not working. Kasi, if not,
the classic workaholic.
The classic workaholic, like, sorry, no bashing. Parang no bashing sa workaholic na lang. I'm at the point that I really love what I do.
Yeah.
Just being more conscious to stop working is more like, kailangan the trigger than to schedule the work.
Yeah.
So, ako naman parang, I have to schedule the time na I have to like shut down or I need to be able to delegate some things para hindi ako always just working. Kasi sometimes na-realize ko na parang hindi ako nag-vacation. Kasi during that time, yung utak ko, connected pa din.
Yeah.
Kasi wala nang ano ngayon eh. It's not like the 1940s, di ba? Na you
Yeah.
when you went out of the office, off na talaga. Ngayon kasi it's like always on. It's always in your head. I have to schedule like, okay, intentionally, I'm offline these days. and I have to set those like work boundaries by myself. Na okay, these 2 days I'm going to be present. I'm going to like, be in the zone. I'm not gonna look at my WhatsApp. I'm not gonna look at my phone, and just be there with either my friends or my family.
And that's why intent is so important. So if your intention for travel is to reset, diba, then you have to make sure that you can arrange those days to be off the grid, diba? And really, unplug yourself from everything.
Pero ito yung nakakatawa. Pag naka-offline ako, doon naman ako yung parang may makikita ako tapos biglang gusto ko.
Maisip mo.
Oo, maisip ko.
Yeah.
Especially when you're in marketing. Parang,
Super true.
parang makikita ko to. Like, oh my gosh.
Ding may idea
Wait,
ka.
gusto ko to. Tapos pag napipicturean ko na siya, lalagyan ko na siya ng doodle. Tapos biglang sisend ko sa team ko. It's like, I empathize for my team who has to handle
That's the realization. I do not know how to reset.
It's like, I do not know how to take a vacation.
Before tayo dun sa during the trip naman, meron ba kayong like apps, non-negotiables na you wanna share para lang mas better yung planning when traveling?
I mean, I don't know if anybody don't use these apps. Pero like maps, of course, yung translator app is, I think, one of the essentials. Another one that might be useful if you're traveling with friends or as a group and you need to split the bill is use an app like Splitwise or TriCount. It automatically counts and splits the cost for you. So that's not hard to keep track. Yeah. Normally, depending on which phase of travel you are in, if you're already traveling, then those are the things that you probably need. If you're just planning the travel, I also normally in this day and age would like to use AI to help me with building my itinerary.
So true.
Because it's so much easier. In 1 minute, I can have an itinerary. You don't have to follow it to the T, and I would not recommend you to follow it to the T. So exercise better judgment.
Yeah.
But it's a good starting point. So you don't have to build one from scratch. So it already has one for you. And then just research which is suitable for your need.
That's so true.
So,
you know what I do? I just take a picture of the receipt and I have a chat just for the trip. And I put all the receipts there and I just say, split it for me.
oh yeah, you
evenly.
can do it for you too.
Or
Yeah.
I'll take a picture of the receipt. I'll put the names of the people who were in that restaurant. And I'd say, okay, can you divide this with these people?
Correct.
Especially kung kunyari iba-ibang dinners, diba? Ibang
Yeah.
tao. So all of the info is there. I have kind of like a mini AI assistant. So parang ano may mini assistant, diba? Okay, give me a summary of what I spent or all of the dinners, all of that. So I just put it all in ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And then summarize na niya for me. It's like having a little assistant.
You know, even if you can't follow your plan through,
Yeah.
you can always ask AI to help you also reroute that plan.
Yep.
So, diba, that makes it so much easier. So, in the last minute, something happens, you cannot push through, and you need a quick answer on what to do. You just go to ChatGPT or some other AI app, and then you just you just ask it, and then it will come up with recommendations for you, diba? And you can even ask it to tailor the recommendations based on your preference.
Just validate it with Google or ask
Correct,
it
correct.
for references para hindi mag-hallucinate yung AI because it hallucinates,
Yes,
diba?
it does. It
So
does.
sometimes it makes up a place that doesn't exist.
Yeah.
So
So
i-double check
exercise
na lang.
better judgment, meaning
Have
you also
critical
have to do
thinking.
your work.
Have
you also have to
critical
do your work.
thinking.
Don't just
Yeah.
purely rely on it, diba?
Yeah.
But all of that also cannot happen if you don't have good connectivity. That's why connectivity is so important.
Yeah, I can't live without internet. Like even just planning sa plane.
Internet, power bank,
Oo,
adapters,
adapter,
chargers, all
like,
of that.
mas critical nga yan kesa sa makeup and toiletries.
Yeah. Those you can buy, but if you don't have
Exactly.
internet, you're dead na.
Exactly. Oh my gosh. And sorry, super duper recommend this. Isang file directory. Like ako, I travel with my fiance and my partner and my family a lot. I have this whole file directory. Ano lang, Google Sheet. Everybody has access to Google Sheet, diba? I so recommend it because at least all the flights are there if ever may questions, diba? Andun na lahat ng info.
Yeah.
There's less friction. So at least may alignment, less friction din para hindi, asa na yung ganito, asa na yung ganyan, asa na yung ganito. It's like, it's all in the directory. Just go to the file and then you can find whatever it is you're probably going to need for the trip in that file.
I do something similar. So I always have a Google Sheet or an Excel that has all the data, the itinerary. So the itinerary naman doesn't mean that you need to be stuck with that itinerary, but you just have a guide of how you're going to spend your day. Normally, especially before when internet was bad, a long time ago. A long time ago. What I would do is I would even capture screenshots of the map, diba? So you just plan for the worst na in case I don't have phone, what do I do? Diba? How do I contact? So make sure you have the phone numbers, for example. Or if say you're going to a non-English speaking country, make sure you have the address of the hotel so that you can show the driver if you're taking a cab, diba?
Na naka-local language,
Na naka-local language. Because in case you have bad internet and you can't use your Google Translate, diba? Or your,
Naka-print out na yung name ng
naka-print
hotel.
out na. So, those things.
Now you can use also AI now in
yes.
building an itinerary.
Sobrang
Dati
convenient
mano-mano.
na ngayon
It is.
mag-travel. Grabe. Like,
It is so much
people
more convenient.
now are so lucky because there are all these apps that we used to do manually. Like, si Splitwise ba yun? Yung app na pang,
For this
panghati ng KKV stuff.
So, nung wala pang mga ganun.
Divide.
Manually mo tinatya.
And may
Kawawa
AI. So, parang meron ka ng mini assistant talaga.
Yes, they can work it out for you.
Lastly, let's talk about budget-friendly trips or like going all out. Which one do you prefer muna?
Ako kuripot ako so budget-friendly tayo parate. I'm a proud budget economy traveler and I really enjoy it when I can get a good value of trips.
Yeah.
That's why I recommend low-season traveling.
Actually,
like, never travel
season.
on a peak
I
season.
don't travel peak season.
Kasi pag peak season, especially US peak season if it's the US summertime, like summer ng classes nila sa US, that's usually June, July, August. That's usually the time na mahal everything. And wag ka sasabay sa mga conferences, sa mga FIFA World Cup. Peak season travel is the worst. Low season travel, I think, is the best because I've gotten deals for like 5-star hotels at 1/5 of the price. Or mga 1/10 of the price during a low season. Kunyari, something like 10 times the price would be available for like a 1/10 of the price pag low season talaga.
I think it also depends on what your priorities are as a person, what your non-negotiables are as a person. So some people can live with eating 7-Eleven food as long as they get
if it's
to do
Japan,
a lot of shopping, for example, diba? So that's where you allocate a majority of your budget, diba? So for me, I also like to strike a bit of balance. So I don't want to scrimp myself to the point that I don't enjoy my trip, diba?
yeah, that's
but
true.
Also, the spending has to be reasonable and the spending has to be within the budget, diba? So don't also spend on the basis of credit.
Yeah.
To charge everything to credit card but have no means to pay for it. So don't do that, no? Kasi you enjoy yourself in the moment that you have a trip, but then when the trip is over, you're gonna have a lot of issues. So don't do that also.
I guess maganda din because when I travel with my fiance, there's a balance because I'm usually the kuripot one and he's the one who likes the fancy dinners and stuff. So at least balance din yun. A little bit of the splurge and a little bit of the
we do that also.
Kuripot stuff.
Like within the trip, you plan maybe one nice meal on an upscale restaurant, for example, diba? And then you have some meals that are like maybe grab sandwiches lang or something simple, diba?
Pero I'm the type of person din kasi na hindi ko gusto yung eating out sobra. Mas gusto ko pa minsan yung supermarket food, yung real food na. Parang after a while, you'll get tired of fast food, restaurant food. So, masarap din yung actually
simple lang.
Supermarket meals in first world countries. Grabe.
Kasi their supermarket meals are so good.
So good, lalo na sa Japan.
Yeah.
For true.
They're so good.
Yung the salmon, the fish, everything, all of the supermarket meals in Japan, like, sarap.
And nag-50% off din sila.
Before the supermarkets close, the meals would go like 50 off.
Yeah.
So, sulit siya. Yeah.
Pwede mo siyang breakfast.
Yeah.
And then for the
in
next day.
UK, it's the same. So, kunyari, Marks and Spencer, at the end of the day, diba, all the sandwiches would be like just £1, £2, ganyan. So, and they're not bad, diba? It's just that they're closing soon. So, for the day. So, they want to get rid of all the remaining
I'd say
food.
My happiest memories is like when we travel and then we'd buy supermarket food and eat in the park. Supermarket food, the park
Peaceful.
with your friends.
Simple joys, no?
Simple joys.
Those small moments.
Watching the ducks in the park.
Yeah.
Very specific, no?
I need to find ducks pa pa.
May mga ducks kasi sa Canada, tsaka even sa Japan, di ba, ang dami nila mga animals sa parks. Oh my gosh, ang saya. Just chill.
Siguro last segment natin would be our travel hot takes. Economy or business?
At this age, economy.
Ako, it depends. If it's a long-haul flight and I have the budget for it at that time, I would go business.
For comfortability.
Kasi it's so exhausting talaga.
That's true.
Diba? If it's long-haul, imagine if you're there for 20 hours.
Yeah.
Tapos yung katabi mo, sobrang lakas mag-snore or may, di ba? Parang hindi ka makagalaw.
Connecting or direct flight?
Connecting in some situations, like Taiwan and Japan would be the best connecting ones.
I usually go for whatever is shortest. If not, connecting is fine, pero I usually don't like multiple connections. So meaning,
Single
2-3 stops, ganyan. And then it will take you more than a day's worth of travel because it's very exhausting. Siguro when I was younger, that would be okay.
Yeah.
Pero now that we're older, we cannot.
Yeah.
Airport lounges or exploring the terminal?
Depends on the terminal.
Seated next to the nearest seat of the gate. Specific.
Before we end this episode, grabe, sobrang dami kong rin natutunan. Dami nating nasi-share sa ating Big Sky fam. What's your best travel hack that you swear by?
Pre-packing and pre-planning. Para for a stress-free trip, meron akong journey na even spills to inform all of the work people. Meron akong okay, this is my trip and my checklist ako, and then may mga pre-packed items ako para hindi ako nagpapanic.
For me, if you're traveling with a group, to make sure that you set expectations with everybody so that the trip is smooth sailing. If you're traveling alone, make sure somebody knows what your plans are and where you are at any point in time, just for safety purposes.
Love that.
Yeah.
Great tips. Sometimes, then the best travel advice isn't the obvious stuff. It's the little tricks that can totally change the game when you travel. And with that, we're wrapping up another episode of Byaheng Big Sky. So thank you so much, Moochie and Rina, for such a great conversation today. So if you guys want to learn more, please stay tuned for our next episode on our socials as well as on our YouTube and Spotify. So thank you so much, Big Sky fam.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.